So for this project, what we're going to be doing is creating a tile that is repeatable. Please ignore all of the garbage on this desk over here. So what we're going to do is we're going to jump into Photopea and we are going to create a new project. And this is going to have a custom dimension. So we're going to sort of ignore everything here and we're going to set this up. And you could really do any size, but we're going to do 400 wide by 400 tall. And our resolution is going to be 72 dpi. For this project, we're going to assume that we're creating a repeating tile for a web-based graphics. We're going to hit create, and we're going to be given this square right here. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to create an image that if you were aligning this same image next to itself, left to right and top to bottom, there would be no seam. And so this would be a seamless tile. So I'm going to show you some techniques in order to do that. So for starters, I'm going to choose a background color. And I'm going to go for sort of like a starry night sky sort of vibe here. And so I'm going to choose like a dark blue, like really dark, almost even black right in here. And I sort of desaturate a little bit as well. I want it to be sort of nighttimey. And I'm going to use my paint bucket tool. So if I press G, I can get to the tool that has it in the flyout. And I'm just going to click once and fill my background. Now the next thing that I'm going to do is create a new layer right over here. And then I'm going to use the shape tool over here. And if I look at the shape tool, I can see that there's a number of different shapes. I want to use this custom shape. It looks like a star. And for this project, I'm going to use a fill type for the stroke that is going to be the yellow, the sort of standard yellow that's there. And I'm going to play around with the stroke setting in just a second. I don't want a fill for this. Okay, so what that's going to allow me to do is it's going to allow me to create a shape. Now by default, it's going to be set to triangle right here, because even though it says star, this is the custom shape tool right here. What I need to do is I need to choose the shape that I actually want. So it's going to load the various shapes that are options right here. So we're going to give it a chance to load. And you'll see that there's a whole bunch of different shapes that I can actually choose from. So what I want to do is I want to see if I can find the star, and I should actually be able to just search for it right here. And here we go. I got a whole bunch of different stars. I'm going to choose this first one right here that is solid, like so. And now that I have it in my shape queue right there, I'm going to go back one step to not having that triangle there, and I'm going to click and drag. And I'm going to hold shift so that it sort of maintains aspect ratio, and you can see how it looks. So with a 4.4 point or pixel stroke, that's what it ends up looking like. And if I click on my move tool and then sort of click here, you'll see it gets rid of the path that you saw sort of in the middle there. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to undo that one time, grab my custom shape tool again, it's still set to star, and I'm going to make this 5 points right here. Now I'm going to go ahead, I'm just going to draw a star right here while holding shift. And I want you to see that when you do that repeatedly, it's going to create a new layer. There's a new shape layer each time. So I'm just going to create a bunch of different stars like this, as you can see right here. And I'm going to use the fill for some of them. So for example, I have this layer selected, and so that's this star right here. If I click right here on the fill, and I choose, not a pattern, if I choose a solid fill right there, I'm going to choose that same yellow, I can get some of them to be filled and some not. So I'll just create a couple more like that with I have my move tool, with my shape tool. And now here is where, make sure I hold shift, here's where the magic is going to come into play. What I'm going to do is use my move tool, and I'm going to position some of these stars so that they're halfway off of the canvas. And I'm going to duplicate this same shape right here. So this is layer 1. I'm going to call this one left top. All right, I'm going to duplicate this layer by right-clicking on it and duplicating the layer. And then I can use my move tool to drag it so that it is on the right-hand side. Now the difficult part is that I want this to line up perfectly. I'm going to rename this right top, like so. But I can click in my ruler right here, and I can drag a guide to the tip of this star. So I'm zooming in, and I'm adjusting this guide so that I can see exactly where it needs to be. So let me zoom out a little bit right here, and zoom in over here. And so now I can get this pixel to be lined up. And so you can see that if I were to line this tile next to itself, this star would sort of pick up where this one leaves off. And I'm going to do that a couple more times so that I have sort of this seamless star. If I click on one of these shapes with the move tool, see auto select is checked, it's going to grab it automatically. And a quick trick, if I hold Alt, or if you're on a Mac Option, I can click and drag, and that actually duplicates the star. So now shape 7 right here becomes shape 7 copy. So I'm going to put this one sort of right up here, and there's a little red guide that appears if I show you right here. So that's how I know I'm like halfway. Let's see if I can get that to show up again. I can get this to be halfway on and halfway off. Yeah, there's a little red guide right there. A little bit hard to see. You'll see it on your machine right there. And so then what I'm going to do is pull another guide so I get this thing exactly in the center, and I'm going to name this one top right, and I'm going to call it, fill or full, since it's a fold star. I'm naming these so I know what they are. And then I'm going to duplicate this one and bring it all the way down here and let that red star line up appropriately. See, that little red star tells me it's on the guide. And I'm just going to position these so that they are in semi-random places using my move tool. Okay, so now what I can do, I'm going to get rid of these guys. I just sort of drag them off of the screen here. Okay, now what I can do is I can press Command or Control A to select everything. I'm going to go to Edit, and I'm going to go to Define New Pattern. All right, so now this pattern has been added. I'm also going to file, save as a PSD, and call this tile. I'm going to export it as a JPEG. I'll call it tile.jpg. But once I've defined it as a pattern, what I can do is if I create a new document, what I can select is, let's say I wanted to create like an Instagram post. And so remember, our first design was 400 pixels by 400 pixels. The one that we're creating now is 1080 by 1080. What I can do is I can fill up this white space by using a pattern fill overlay. And so if I go to effects right here and I go to pattern overlay, well, that new pattern that I just defined right here, that's loading, is going to be in my group of options. So right here, that stars pattern, I can add, and you can see that it just sort of repeats, and like there's no seam at all. I can adjust the scale, so if, that's it at 400%, or I'm sorry, that's it at 400 pixels by 400 pixels, but I can make it really small if I want it to be like a wallpaper. And so that's how I can create a repeating tile using Photopea. That's it. If you have any questions, just rewatch the video. You can leave a comment in the YouTube video or talk to me in class. Thanks a lot.